Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Heart to Heart. My name is Madiha and we're joined by Sister Masuma Jaffer, who is a resident alima at Stanmore Mosque, and she also has qualifications in counselling. She's counselled hundreds of individuals, couples and families on various topics and issues. And Heart to Heart is a show that's all about you as the viewer. You can email in at hearttoheart@safirtv.com with any questions, any problems, any issues you might be facing at work, at home, at university or at school, or any sphere of life, and Sister Masuma will try her best to help tackle them in a spiritual and practical manner. Thank you so much for joining us, Sister Masuma.
Thank you for having me.
We've had loads of people email in with various issues and topics that they're facing in various aspects of life. So I'm just going to go straight into it as always. This is a question that we've had from a lady that I think is actually very pertinent. I think a lot of people are facing this kind of issues where they're being told one way or another how they should live their life. This person has said, I recently got married and I've made the decision to leave work and be a housewife. However, I've been met with so much hostility and abuse, not from non-Muslim women, but Muslim women who are really career orientated. It's almost as though wanting to be at home is seen as some sort of handicap, or that maybe my brain vacated my skull and I can't think for myself. This was entirely my decision and I'm happy with the choice I've made. But the thing is, I don't understand how to get other people to understand this. I mean, I know that this is an issue that a lot of mothers face, whether they're working or not working. There's always people judging them one way or another. So what would you say to this lady that's decided to become a housewife?
Yeah, no, I agree. It is an issue, whether you work or not. There'll always be someone who'll tell you what you're doing is wrong. She actually doesn't mention children, so I assume she's just being she's not talking about being a mother, because that's much easier than to explain.
Yeah.
She wants to be a housewife and that's her right. The beauty of Islam is that we as women have been given that right not to have to go out to work. If we do, it's our choice. It's not something that we should be forced by our husbands at all. It has, it's my choice if I want to, and whatever I earn is my money. It's up to me what I do with that money. He still has to provide for me and take care of me. So it's beautiful that I have been given that freedom to be able to say I want to work or not work. It's my choice. It's funny how she's being. It's not the men; it's the women that are. She's having.
That's what I think. That's what I found. I found that it's the women that always have something to say, whether you're working or not.
And I just wonder, is it coming from a perspective of that they want to feel what they're doing is right, so that's why they have to make you feel that what you're doing is wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why being a housewife is seen as something that's negative. I mean, it takes a lot to be a house. I think it takes almost more to be at home than to go out, and
because it continues, right?
Yeah.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
It's just it continues all the time. And she may be doing so much more as well. It's she's not just if she's at home, she's got that choice to read, do study,
Yeah.
do whatever she wants to do, which is good, because then she's preparing herself to be a mother when she decides to have children.
Yeah.
So it's really important that she does what she thinks is right. She mentions that she's not been forced into this. It's her decision. And I think she has to have the confidence to follow it through and not worry about what other people think. If it works for her and her family, and her husband's happy about it and she's happy about it, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It really doesn't.
She has to be confident in her decision.
In one ear and out the other. It's whenever I hear this, it reminds me of the story of Prophet Luqman, where he with his son, and he's advising his son, and they have a donkey, and initially his son is sitting on the donkey and people are sitting there saying how can a young boy be sitting on the donkey when the old man is walking? That's so wrong. So then they swap over. And then people start saying, as a father, how can you sit on the donkey and let your little child walk,
Yeah.
So then they both decide to walk. And it's like, what's the point of having a donkey if neither one of you are sitting on it?
Yeah.
So, you'll never
make people happy.
Never make everyone happy.
Yeah.
And it's not about making other people happy. It's about ensuring that what you're happy with the decisions you're making, and that, this is, you can okay those decisions to God. If God was to ask you, why did you do this? And you're quite capable, you're able to answer him, then that decision's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what anyone else says.
When you were answering the question at the beginning, you said, it's not women's responsibility to go out and earn. But what if you have a situation where between a couple, they've decided between themselves that it'll be the woman that's working and the man that stays at home?
That's fine as long as they've decided as a couple. So it's something that they have both decided, and she's happy with that and she's comfortable with that, because it is wajib for him to provide for his wife. But if she tells him, no, you know what, I'd rather work, maybe I've got a degree, I'm a better job or whatever, and you're actually better off looking after the kid, that as long as they're both comfortable with that, then that's fine.
So is he doing something haram if he's not providing for her?
As long as she has told him that she's let him off that, then it's fine. It's not a problem at all. But she has to be okay with it and not be pushed into it.
Yeah.
Because in the end it falls on him. So unless she's actually let him off that, then it's a problem if she hasn't.
Okay, great. So you're saying is that this lady should be confident in her own sort of choices, and she should try not to let what other people are saying,
and make sure as long as it works for her family, that's all that matters. The other people are living their lives, not your life.
No, that's absolutely true. I hope this lady actually benefits from your answer, because I think that's definitely a really good that's really good advice that you've given. I'm going to move on to the next question. This person has emailed in to say that all my life I have been quite introverted and sensitive. However, since joining my local mosque, some of the boys there give me a hard time because I am quiet and keep to myself. I joined this mosque because I like the lectures they have there. Anyway, the point is I don't like football and I've never been in a fight. I just want to be on my own and read or play video games. Should I stop going to this mosque or should I confront these boys? I hate confrontation, by the way. Oh. Seems like a really good boy.
There's a lot there. He talks about the fact that he realizes he's an introvert, which is fine, and nothing wrong with that at all. But also, I think knowing that you're an introvert, sometimes it's important for you to step out of your comfort zone for growth.
Okay.
So yes, I'm an introvert. This is where I'm comfortable. But I know in order to grow, I have to step out of that comfort zone, step out of that circle, and maybe sort of make an effort to socialize with others. It's not, there is very rarely growth within the circle of our comfort zone. It has to be outside, which makes us uncomfortable, but that's where growth happens. So it's good that he knows himself. That's a really good thing, that he knows himself. He knows what he likes, what he doesn't like. But it feels like he is comfortable with staying within those boundaries.
It's probably that he has to find people. I mean, he said here that he doesn't like football.
Yeah, but not all boys do.
Yeah, you probably have to find
someone
that's similar, like-minded.
Yeah, exactly. So, there are boys who don't like football. There are, I'm sure he can find someone who, has the same interest as him. But it sounds as if he doesn't feel the need to.
Yeah.
And therefore he doesn't want to. Yeah. And I think he needs to push himself a little bit to want to, because there is a need of growth in all of us. He says that he's joined the mosque because of the lectures. So there may be others who are coming for the same reason, and he can have then, conversations on what the lecturer said, and, maybe even start up a discussion circle and things like that.
Yeah.
So he's taking charge of the thing that he likes and then encouraging other people to join that.
Yeah.
So rather than expecting other people to come up with something that he likes, him actually taking charge and maybe starting, discussion circle with the sheikh. If he likes.
And what about, he's saying some of the boys give me a hard time because I'm quiet and keep to myself. Well, what should he say to these boys?
So he doesn't say how old he is. It's dependent on how old he is. But a lot of the times I think it'd be good to actually just have a facilitated conversation with an adult present there who's facilitating it. So it may be, if he's quite young, with the parents there. It may be with maybe the speakers that he likes. Getting him involved in a perspective of, I need to have a conversation. It doesn't have to be confrontation. It can be a conversation where you're just letting the other person know that, you're making me feel uncomfortable when you do this. and seeing then how they react to that, because they may not realize that they're making him uncomfortable. They may be doing it as a joke because this is how they joke with each other.
Yeah.
But he's not used to that, and he's not comfortable with that.
But sometimes that can be quite embarrassing for someone to do that. To first of all have a facilitated conversation, but more sort of admitting their not weakness, but admitting that they feel this way when amongst I can imagine amongst a bunch of boys it would be banter or just joking around, and of course that still could be hurtful.
So if he feels he doesn't, if he feels that it's going to make him embarrassed or difficult, he could then approach the speaker, and maybe the speaker can talk about what is considered as bullying.
Yeah.
Because it is a form of bullying.
Yeah.
So when you're laughing at people rather than with people, so getting the other boys to sort of realize that what they're doing is bullying.
Yeah.
And then maybe getting them to think about when they felt uncomfortable. So making it an interactive session where they actually feel like, oh, I felt here I wasn't, but I brushed it off. Well, you were able to brush it off. Maybe some people aren't.
Yeah. And
you need to be aware of that. So I think it's looking at different ways of getting the message across to the other boys. But also I think it's about his growth as well. And maybe sort of forming some sort of discussion circle or doing something which he enjoys, but getting others to then join in that activity.
It's probably difficult to find social circles within the mosque which aren't football. So it could be that you'd actually get on with those boys really, really well when they're not playing football.
Yeah.
Just having a discussion with them, lunch or dinner or whatever, or just going out to wherever. It could be that they might be getting on really well off of the football pitch, but he doesn't enjoy football, so he wouldn't.
But not all boys do enjoy football. Yes, it is something that a lot of boys enjoy, but not all of them enjoy football.
Yeah.
There are kids who don't like sport.
Yeah.
So it's finding people that he has common interests with. I think that's really important. And even like you said, yes, they may enjoy football, but they may have a lot in common when they're off the football pitch.
What I meant,
So if they have a discussion circle, or something else, movie night, or maybe even he invites them home where he is in control of the environment, and his parents are home and everything. So he's building a relationship outside of things that he doesn't like. That would then help him. And as an introvert, you don't feel the need to.
Yeah.
You're quite comfortable in your own self.
Yeah.
You don't, and it takes a lot of energy to actually then, use, it takes a lot of energy to actually build those relationships for an introvert.
Yeah.
That, and knowing that he needs to do this because we are, social human beings, and it's like, you need to have relationships with others as well, even if it is very draining, but you need to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's definitely the case. And I think as you grow older, I think, well, I don't know about you, but I definitely become more introverted because you almost don't have time or energy to sort of make those, have those conversations with people. And I think it's important to make sure that you've always build those bridges with people and have people around you.
And I think as you get older and you get busier, it's more difficult because then you're not around like-minded people all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas at school, it's like you've got so many people that you can choose to have relationships with or not choose to have relationships with. Whereas when you're at work and then you go out and you do this and you've got mosque, you've got this, and you've got your family. There's so many things going on in your life, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, do I really have the energy to then bring something else in? Because every relationship comes with its own baggage as well.
Yeah.
So, but then every relationship comes with growth as well, because you learn so much from others as well.
That's true.
So it's understanding that I do need this in my life. If I limit my relationships with my immediate family, then I'm limiting the number of God's creation that I am, having interaction with and who I'm learning from. Every single person has something that I can learn from. And everyone's, I truly believe there's nothing random in his life, in his universe. I truly believe that, nothing in life is random. And there is something we can learn from everyone that we come across. It's just knowing that they've been sent there for my growth.
And I think I'm just going to make this last point on this particular topic, but there's I often find that within our mosques, sometimes we have very I guess the word is cliquey type circles, where we're not very inviting to other people that are not like-minded. Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, how do we tackle that issue? Because I think, the mosque that I attend, I know that I've grown up there, so I feel part of it. But I know when other people attend, they don't feel like they belong. They feel like outcasts. I've heard so many people say that about the particular mosque I attend, and I feel disheartened and sort of almost offended because it's my mosque. That people would feel like that, when they attend this mosque. And I just feel like a mosque should be a place where everyone should always feel open and comfortable and welcomed and belong. And I think that's an issue within our actual communities. And what this boy is saying, even though it's probably that he's from the same community, I don't know, but he shouldn't ever feel like an outcast in his, in a mosque, I think. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I think as it's each individual's responsibility to ensure that, when we go to mosque, we don't just stick to our friends. It's important that we, notice when a new person's come into the mosque, which is difficult if you've got a big mosque.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's new, who's not, because, and especially if the mosque is not just one big room. So again, if you've got a mosque which is maybe a house converted into a mosque, then you've got different rooms, so you don't notice who's there and who's not. If it's a small mosque, that's much easier to do. But I think just smiling. If we all go around just smiling and saying salam to everyone that we come across, that automatically welcomes the person into the mosque. Knowing how much sawab there is to initiate the salam. So using that opportunity and actually just initiating salam with everyone that I make eye contact with is would welcome them. One, wherever you choosing different places to sit, maybe sort of again, not just being comfortable with the friends that I have, but actually saying, okay, you know what, today I'm going to sit somewhere else and maybe just talk to the two, three people who are around me and build a relationship. Again, maybe they might become really close friends, but I've never given it a chance before because I've always stuck with these friends.
That's true,
they may have so much valuable things that I could learn from, but I've never actually explored it. So pushing myself a little bit again to sit in different places, especially I in my Ramzan, I encourage this and I try to do this myself. It's like I tell people, you're coming to mosque for 30 days. Try to sit in different places for the 30 days. Don't sit in one place.
I think the last month of Ramadan, when I was sitting next to someone in my mosque, and I said, "Oh, are you new? I haven't seen you here before." And they're like, "No, I've been coming here my whole life." And I was like, "Oh, well, I've been coming here my whole life too.
But we've never met."
And that was because I'd sat somewhere else. So it was really nice to
and it's nice, because especially when you're sitting and eating, because people are relaxed and you talk and just finding out about other people who are at the mosque and their lives. There's so much to learn from other people, and we have that opportunity in my Ramzan where people are coming to break iftar. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. No, thank you. That's a very interesting point. I'm going to move on to the next question because we've only got a few minutes left of the show. This person has said that I want to make a difference in this world and contribute something meaningful to it. So I've been thinking about going to a poor country and doing voluntary aid work, but some of these countries I want to go are complete war zones. I've also been advised not to go as I am a single mother with 2 young children, so if anything happens to me, what will become of my children? Anyway, I feel that what I'm doing is not enough. What do you think, Auntie Masuma? Which is a very interesting question for me in particular, because my day job is to do exactly this, aid work in war zones, and I always get questions like this, but I'm obviously not a mother, so I don't face the same responsibility, I guess.
This is very common amongst young mothers, because you feel like you're in a rut. Your child takes up so much of your time. You feel like you're not growing as a person. You feel like you're not giving anything back to society. You feel like your relationship with God has deteriorated because you don't have time to do as much ibadah as you used to. What we need to do is change the way we look at it. Okay, you are doing a huge service to humanity by bringing up human beings who will be, actually an asset.
And that's way more difficult than, trust me, but than going to war zones.
And you're talking out of experience.
I'm absolutely talking out of experience. It's way more difficult to bring up children. I mean, 4 hours babysitting my nephews is way more difficult than going out to these countries and doing this work. I mean, you're absolutely right.
So I think it's realizing that, one, you know, if I want to do something worthy, which is what she's looking to do,
Yeah.
she's looking to do something worthy. If I can bring up these two children that God has given me and bring them up to be an asset to mankind, to, you know, to be, you know, devout Muslims, to live, you know, to be the Ansar of the Mahdi when he comes, that would be amazing. Then she has really done something worthwhile. You know, especially because she's a single mother. I worry when she says she wants to go away, what is going to happen? Who's going to take care of her kids? Again, you know, your children have been given to you specifically by God to bring them up. If you're handing them over to someone else, you know, what about that responsibility? You're going to take care of someone else when God's already given you, you know, two beautiful kids to take care of.
And there's so many ways of doing things without going out to these countries. And there's so many the organisation that I work for example, has voluntary programs in the UK. You know, there's so many things you can do
from here. You don't have to go to those countries, and you can get your children involved in it as well.
That's exactly.
So they're learning the importance of helping others, which is really, really important. And I think also realizing that this is ibadah as well. This is something that, you know, a lot of mothers have a huge problem with. When they first become mothers, they feel like their whole life revolves around this child, and then they don't have time for anything else, including God. But if they could focus on the fact that this child has been given to them by God, and taking care of this child is ibadah. It is bringing them closer to God.
I mean, I'm not sure this person, well, of course that's a huge thing to want to become closer to God, but I think they're wanting to make a difference to this. They're saying they want to make a difference to this world and contribute something meaningful to it. But exactly as you said, bringing up children,
it's contributing and bringing in.
I mean, if you understand the value of that, then you know, I guess it's probably about renewing your intention and renewing the idea that is actually something very meaningful.
And the thing is, it's like, you know, when you go to war zone areas, you can see the impact straight away of what you do. With bringing up children, it's a longer term thing. Such a slow, long, you know, difficult process.
Definitely more difficult.
And this is why Jannat is under the feet of the mother.
You know, you get it for free.
Exactly. So it's important to realize that, you know, all this effort that I'm putting in, it will reap its value when, you know, when the child becomes older and does something. And maybe this child will then go to a war zoned area and help out and, you know, and live. And what's to say you can't do that when the kids have grown up, when they don't need you as much in their life? Maybe actually go there with your kids again, you know, to get them to see the value of it all. But like you're saying, at the moment, you need to focus on the children. You need to focus on the fact that, you know, this is huge. There's a lot of value and meaning to this. And at the same time, do things from here. You know, find out organizations that are helping and see how you can help from here. You don't even have to come out of your house. There's a lot you can do on the internet which will help as well.
And just by the way, not all aid work are war zones. I mean, aid work is to help alleviate some of the very root causes of poverty, which they'll be in countries that are developing and aren't necessarily like the UK, but they're not always war zones, so they are quite safe some of the times, and voluntary trips will never take you somewhere which is unsafe for you. So I mean, you could definitely go a week or two if you do absolutely feel like either take your kids with you, which is very possible, or if you want to go for a week without your kids or however long, it's always very possible to do that in a safe country. But you know, as you said, it's, you know, that can always happen later on when the child is elder as well.
And there's a lot of learning for the children if you can take them along with you, because the impact of seeing it for your own self and being told about it is so different. It's so different. And it you know, changes them for life. You know, what they see actually changes them for life, and then the choices that they make. I remember talking to someone who was saying that how they went and lived in one of these developing countries for a year for whatever reason, and they'd taken their kids with them, and they literally each had a suitcase that they took with them, and they lived for that year with that suitcase. And it made them realize that they could, and they didn't really miss all of the stuff that they, you know, would have back home.
Yeah.
And because they were living in a developing country, they saw how little others had.
Yeah.
So even though they only had this one suitcase,
Yeah.
they had so much more than what others
Absolutely.
had.
Absolutely.
And she, you know, I was just talking to her recently, and she was saying, as the kids grew up, when they went through the teenage years, where all the other kids were looking at brand name things, her kids weren't into that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because she had to tell them. It's because the impact of seeing those who had so little and realizing that they didn't need this actually hit them so much that they didn't feel like they needed to have all these branded stuff and everything, and they were quite comfortable going to, you know, just a normal shop and just buying something that wasn't branded.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's huge because it does have an impact on you as you're growing up, and it has an impact on you, it has an impact on your kids. So, you know, it'd be nice to do it together.
Absolutely.
And
I
share
think,
that.
you know, if the issue is here that they want to make a difference to the world and contribute something meaningful to it, I mean, there's so much poverty and there's so many issues in the UK. There are soup kitchens and food banks and homelessness and all sorts of issues that, you know, if you want to make a difference to the world, you know, some people say you should start here at home. And there are so many things you can do here in the UK, you know, while the children are at school, for example, as we said just before, where she can make a meaningful difference if that's what she feels she has to or needs to do.
And it's not even from, you know, the poverty perspective. You can actually then maybe sort of, you know, get some sort of qualification in counselling and help people make a difference through that as well.
Absolutely.
So there's so many different ways you can make a difference, as well as knowing that you're making a difference by bringing up these two kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's so many things that you need to do rather than just focusing on this concept of going to a war zone area.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much. That's a very interesting topic that we've discussed there, and we've actually come to the end of our show. Thank you so much to all our viewers for tuning in once again. As I said before, Heart to Heart is all about our viewers. You can always email in at hearttoheart@sophiatv.com with any issues or problems or anything at all that you might be facing at work or university or at home. And Sister Masma will try her best to help tackle the issues that you may be facing. Thank you once again. Assalamu alaikum.